Good morning or good afternoon from wherever you are. I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The Yukon government has confirmed there's evidence of cyanide contamination at the Eagle Gold Mine after an equipment failure last week, which caused a landslide. All 4 groundwater samples collected near the mine site indicate evidence of cyanide. Officials say a sample collected from a creek near the mine shows elevated levels of cyanide at 0.04 milligrams per liter, levels that could potentially impact fish. The government says it will continue to conduct water quality testing and sampling. The mine is located 85 kilometers from the community of Mayo, which is the home of the First Nation of Nacho-Nayakdan. The First Nation is calling for all mining activity on its traditional territory to be halted because of the incident. Yukon Mines Minister John Stryker says the government is doing its best to address the situation.
Seriousness of the heap leach failure at the Eagle Gold Mine on Monday, June 24th. We all love this place we call home. We all share a responsibility to safeguard it for future generations. That includes our government, Victoria Gold, and everyone else who has the honor to explore and occupy this incredible territory.
The mine's owners, Victoria Gold, have temporarily suspended operations. The company said in a release just prior to the announcement that it had found no evidence of cyanide in its sampling. We'll have more on this story on tonight's newscast. An update to a story we brought to you earlier in the week. Leadership at the Kahiwan Cree Nation in Alberta held a membership vote on Wednesday to change their election laws to allow chief and council to have 3 consecutive terms instead of 2, and to allow the term length to go from 3 to 4 years. A low voter turnout saw a 154 to 58 vote to keep leadership terms at 3 years, and 124 votes for keeping term limits at 2 consecutive terms versus 74 to expand terms to 3 years. The voting age will go from 18 to 21, and voters decided to lower the number of councillors from 7 to 5. There was no vote on allowing members to be electoral officers. The election for the 2200 band member 240 kilometer northeast of Edmonton will be held before the end of September. If being a premier was a popularity contest, Wab Kinew would come out on top, according to a new approval rating data. 66% of Manitobans polled approve of rookie premier's work so far. Sav Jonza went out on the street to see what people are saying.
2/3 of Manitobans think that Premier Wab Kinew is doing a good job, according to the latest approval data from the Angus Reid Institute. The first provincial premier of First Nations descent is leading the pack against other provincial premiers for the 3rd time in a row. Since his election in October 2023, Premier Kinew has topped every approval rating polling conducted by the nonpartisan Public Opinion Research Foundation. And each time, his increasing numbers secured him as one of only 2 provincial premiers with an over 50% approval rating from his residents. We went out on the town to see what people, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike, are thinking about his term so far. Premier Wab Kinew just got a 66% approval rating. He's the highest approved premier of all the provinces. What do you think of Premier Wab Kinew?
What do I think of Premier Wab Kinew? I like how he is involved with the community in Winnipeg and around Manitoba. I like that he's involved with the youth and really showing out and like being out there with the kids too.
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest, been following him super closely since he was elected, but I really appreciate having a first Indigenous premier, and yeah, it strikes me as a situation where we have a leader who's engaged with the community to a certain degree, and I appreciate that.
No, Wab Kinew's great. He's doing good things for our province.
That's awesome.
Go Uncle Wabby!
I'm one of the 66%.
Yeah?
I think he's done lots. I think he listens to people. I think especially with all the searching the landfills, talking to the families, like I just think those are promises he made and he's following through on them. Mm-hmm. I see he's got such a diverse cabinet. and I really appreciate and respect that as well.
Last month, Canoe announced the process for searching the Prairie Green landfill north of Winnipeg has begun, a promise he made during his election after incumbent Heather Stephenson refused. He and others in Winnipeg hope the search will uncover the remains of at least 2 First Nations women believed to have been dumped there after being murdered by an admitted serial killer. Canoe has also suspended the provincial fuel tax, which he says has given Manitoba the lowest gas prices in the country. While only 9 months into his first term as a premier, still a lot could change in the coming months. But for now, it's an achievement to be proud of. Sav Jones, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Great story, Sav. Thank you. On Tuesday, Métis Nation Saskatchewan cut the ribbon on the new Dumont Lodge. The facility will help Métis children and youth have the opportunity to learn traditions, learn from elders, and take pride in their culture. Video journalist Rachel May was at the grand opening.
This lodge it's a building, but it's going to be a home. It's going to be a home for us. It's our first real home that we've built, in the Métis Nation.
July 3rd, the ribbon was cut on the new Dumont Lodge, located on the sacred grounds of Batoche. The new $8 million facility was made possible by MNS partnering with Urban Programming for Indigenous Peoples, a program implemented by Indigenous Services Canada to help deliver culturally appropriate programming. Vice President of Métis Nation Saskatchewan, Michelle Leclerc, says that this is so much more than just a building.
It's a home for our youth to learn about culture, language, values.
With construction finished, MNS spoke about their new program for youth, the Riel Scouts. The program will teach youth from ages 5 to 18 Métis practices, language, and traditions. MNS President Glenn McCallum says that with the help of elders, MNS executives, and citizens, the lodge will provide a safe place to learn traditions youth might not otherwise experience.
Everybody has a role. To be able to build good spirits as individuals, to be able to build good communities, to be able to build good cities, to be able to build a good province, and to build a country that we all feel that we're a part of.
The exact details of the Riel Scouts program are still being worked out, but the first set of Scouts should be coming in early 2025. Meanwhile, the Dumont Lodge will be available for tours, rentals, and will act as the Elders Lodge during the Back to Batoche Festival. McCallum says the lodge is also a place to reflect on how far Métis people have come.
The reality of who we are needs to be recognized, but more importantly, in regards to the struggles that we have had as Métis people.
Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thank you, Rachel. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. Don't be shy. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The Amazing Race Canada is now in its 10th season this year, and we'll tell you all about an Indigenous father-son duo on the show after the break. But first, the biggest expense for the government of the Northwest Territories is medical travel. But are patients getting adequate care for the dollars allocated? That's what APTN is hoping to answer. Here's a preview of that story that will air today in our evening APTN National Newscast.
Yeah, back to November again, seeing Hay River Hospital, lower back pain.
Accessing health care anywhere in Canada can be cumbersome. But for residents in the Northwest Territories, there's the extra burden of long wait times and even longer distances to travel for appointments. I'm Charlotte Morat-Jacobs, and coming up soon on APTN, we'll look at how gaps in medical travel policy is negatively affecting community members.
I wanted a copy of my medical file, contacted a lawyer, paid a lawyer retainer because I wanted to know the difference between my treaty rates, because under treaty, you can't deny me health care.
That's coming up soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back to New Brunswick now, where a new mural was unveiled in downtown Fredericton this week. As CTV's Avery McRae shows us, the piece celebrates Indigenous culture and aims to spark conversations in the community.
It's the latest piece of work to be added to downtown Fredericton's growing art scene.
It was really exciting. I have to say I wasn't really anticipating the crowd or anything. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Tobic First Nation artist Emma Hashenshell-Purley has spent the past month working on her newest creation, which is now on display for the community to see just outside the public library in Officer Square.
It's about gathering in the summertime and being in those spaces growing up in Agecoutay. I love the spot that it's in. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on this street, so that's meant a lot to me that the public library took it on.
Getting to see Indigenous artwork by Indigenous artists on their traditional territory is a long time coming for local elders.
For the city to say, hey, we need some Wolastoqey content, we need some stories, and the mural especially, you can't help but get emotional.
Mayor Kate Rogers echoes the elders' sentiment on the importance of representing the city's original inhabitants through the art scene.
They're a very vibrant culture. The Indigenous, the Wolastoqey culture is a very vibrant culture, and so it's important that that be reflected in our public art that's throughout the city.
The project was sponsored by Beyond Behavioral Intervention, an Indigenous organization that provides child and family services. They hope the piece starts discussions around the importance of the Wolastoqey community in Fredericton.
I think it opens up a great conversation to anyone that comes by the area. The revitalization of Officer Square, having it on the Fredericton Public Library. It's going to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people in the span of a year, and is really going to speak to them.
Hashenshell-Purley says the piece shares a message of how love radiates from the center outwards, which she hopes residents take with them each time they visit the city center. Avery McRae, CTV News, Fredericton.
An Indigenous father-son duo will be representing Thunderchild First Nation and Saskatoon in the upcoming season of The Amazing Race Canada. With the new season premiere just around the corner, CTV News gives us a look ahead at the born and raised Saskatchewan team. Noah Rashog reports.
Meet Michael and Amari Linklater, a born and raised in Saskatchewan father-son duo, members of the Thunderchild First Nation while calling Saskatoon home. And they're about to make their mark across Canada, competing in the Amazing Race.
I'm Michael Linklater from Thunderchild First Nation. This is my son Amari, and we're going to be competing on the Amazing Race Canada this season, season 10. And we're a father-son duo, and I believe we are the first ever First Nations father-son duo to compete on the race.
In 10 seasons of the Amazing Race, the duo are the third team from Saskatchewan and the very first team from Saskatoon competing. The two bond over their shared love of basketball. Michael may be a familiar face for fans of the sport as a champion with Team Canada and the Saskatchewan Rattlers. His son Amari has followed in his footsteps and is playing basketball for the Nate Ooks in Edmonton.
So obviously watching him grow up as a professional, it inspired me a little bit to take after him. And since a young age, we've been playing against each other, playing with each other, and yeah, it's just something we've loved doing together.
The Amazing Race gives the pair a chance to take the competition to another level and represent the Indigenous community on the national stage.
Being from Thunderchild, being First Nation, also being under the Indigenous umbrella, one of the things that our people do is we tend to get behind one another, and representation matters. So the fact that we're on the show, not only representing Indigenous people, but representing Indigenous fatherhood is something important to me.
With season 10 of The Amazing Race set to debut on the 2nd of July, the Linklaters urge Saskatchewan to tune in to watch them compete, representing their home province. For Indigenous Circle, I'm Noah Rashog in Saskatoon.
The hopes of a wrestling fan in Ontario were almost lost after he scored tickets to WWE major event to only find out that he couldn't go. But then his fortune changed. CTV's Spencer Turcott has more.
That is amazing. We're thrilled you're excited for the event.
Mike Agecoutay couldn't believe it after learning he had won 2 tickets through a Toys R Us contest to see the highly anticipated WWE Money in the Bank event in Toronto. He made his request right away for an accommodation.
I need accessible seating. I'm in a wheelchair. This has got to, you got to know this first. And then Toys R Us said, hey, yep, that's cool. We got you covered.
Only to learn the next day he wouldn't be able to go.
Unfortunately, accessibility tickets are all sold out. We're terribly sorry for this. These tickets were secured for us through our vendor partnership quite some time ago. At this time, we can offer you the cash value for the prize, $301.99. My heart just sank.
Deflated because he wouldn't be seeing his favorite WWE superstar.
The one I really want to see is Cody Rhodes. I've been following him for a couple of years.
When CTV News learned about the situation, we reached out to Toys R Us, MLSE, which owns Scotiabank Arena, and the WWE for clarity about where things went wrong. And then, during the interview with Agecoutay, a phone call came from the WWE.
Spencer.
Hey, how's it going? Is this, who is this?
This is Crystal Gentle, but I'd love to introduce you and Mike to the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
Oh my, holy hi.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Spencer. I just wanted to give you a quick shout. Chris pointed this out. I saw a lot of people on social who had mentioned what was going on in the situation. I'm so sorry that I'm sure you've figured it out, though. The cool thing here, though, is that we do have some tickets that are for you, tickets that are compliant and for you. Not only that, we're going to pay for your transportation and come to Money in the Bank. We can't a good fan like you sitting on the sideline. So I'm sorry that happened, but glad we can come together.
This is going to sound so cheesy as but I did not expect the American Nightmare to turn this into a Canadian dream. Like, holy dude.
A Canadian dream that brought tears to his wife's eyes. Both Toys R Us and MLSE responded, saying the issue has now been resolved. No reason was given for the accessibility gap. Agecoutay just hopes a lesson was learned and is thrilled the American Nightmare turned this nightmare into a dream come true. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Guelph.
What a great story. A TD scholarship is making life a little easier for one Indigenous student pursuing a law degree in BC. She'll tell you all about her dreams and aspirations when we return. Over on the east, Halifax 19, Charlottetown 20. La Grande River 24, Kuujjuaq 15. St. Jovite 23, Saguenay 20. Sarnia 27, Sault Ste. Marie 22. Sioux Lookout 27, Timmins 27 as well. Puckatawagan 24, Thompson 26. Winnipeg 26 there, Barons River 27. Swift Current 24, Yorkton 24 as well. Buffalo Narrows 26, Stony Rapids 23 in rain. Sunny and Grand Prairie 25 there, Fort Chipewyan 25 as well. Calgary 23, Medicine Hat 25. Tofino 24, Penticton 31. Dease Lake 17, Smithers 25 and sunny. Beaver Creek 19, Rock River 14. Wrigley 20, Wati 17. Fort McPherson 20, Sax Harbor 3. Baker Lake 16, Chesterfield 17. Igloolik 5 and Iqaluit 6. 25 Indigenous students were recently selected to receive this year's 2024 TD Scholarship. Now in its second year, the scholarship provides students $15,000 per year for up to 4 years to cover tuition costs for post-secondary education and living expenses. One of this year's recipients was Brianna Patrick from Roseau River Anishinaabe Nation in Manitoba. She is now studying law at UBC in Vancouver and spoke with me earlier about the scholarship. Brianna, congrats on the scholarship. What does $60,000 for tuition and living expenses mean for you?
Yeah, so obviously living in Vancouver is a very pricey city to be in. I've also came off my undergrad a few years ago and took a year off to work before going to law school. But the scholarship definitely means so much in terms of kind of taking off a bit of that debt load when I come out of school, and being able to start my career and really make decisions about what job I want to do, and rather than trying to figure out the best job for earning money and making a good salary, which is obviously really important, but the work that I want to do in particular is mostly working with kind of nonprofit sector, and those obviously don't pay as well, so it just offers me a lot more freedom to kind of not be so stressed when I come out of my degree.
Yeah, and that money sure gives you a little bit more room to breathe. You're currently a summer student for the Legal Aid Transition Team at the BC First Nations Justice Council. What type of law are you looking to practice?
Yeah, so I came into my law degree really interested in doing Indigenous law and / environmental law. And the BC First Nations Justice Council mostly works in the criminal and child protection field. So they're a nonprofit organization that provides legal services to Indigenous peoples in BC. And I'm really enjoying that work. They're doing really amazing things, and it's kind of gotten me more interested in the criminal sector, but I definitely want to be doing work that's helping Indigenous peoples and helping advance their self-determination. So I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like in my future. I'm sure that my career will take some turns, but I definitely want to work in the field of advancing Indigenous voices, making the justice system better for Indigenous peoples, advancing Aboriginal and treaty rights, and yeah, the land back, environmental law, all those things.
Yeah, we definitely need more lawyers. You were raised by your grandparents. Do you think that had anything to do with your decision to pursue law?
Yeah, definitely. My grandparents definitely always pushed education as a really important value. So graduating high school was always just kind of expected. And they were really interested in me attending university. I also was a volleyball player throughout high school, so I had some scholarship opportunities at some schools, so I ended up going to the University of Toronto. So that was also a big factor, but yeah, my grandparents were always just so supportive of schooling and the importance of going to school, and they really just instilled that in me and made me really believe that I could do it and that I was smart enough and I was, you know, devoted and dedicated enough to do it and complete a degree. And then I finished my undergrad and I was kind of like, all right, I could do some more.
That's great. It's always good to have those rocks in our lives to have support. Are you hoping to empower the voices of Indigenous peoples through the legal process?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's been just so many generations now where Indigenous peoples have not benefited from the justice system. And I think that there really needs to be some work in that field now, and I think it is happening. And I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I think as long as we're working at it together, I think that's definitely the direction that we're going to be going in, and I'm really happy to be a part of that work.
Really quickly, do you plan to return to Manitoba to practice law one day?
Yeah, I hope so. I do really miss my family and community back in Manitoba, so that's definitely on my radar for sure.
Well, Brianna, thank you for chatting with us today, and we wish you all the best on your studies.
Thank you so much.
And that's your midday newscast for this Friday, July 5th. Dennis Ward is back this evening with more stories in a few hours' time. From everyone at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.